The economy. It's a fickle beast. It ebbs and flows, often without warning, leaving even the most seasoned analysts scratching their heads. One minute, it's soaring like an eagle, a bald eagle naturally, reaching new heights and filling us with hope and optimism. The next, it's plummeting like a reality TV star's approval rating, crashing down and taking our dreams of financial stability with it. Understanding it can feel like trying to decipher Trump's tweets after a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke. The language is confusing, the logic is twisted, and the meaning is often elusive. But fear not, dear viewer. We're here to make sense of it all, to break down the complexities and offer some clarity. We're going to dive headfirst into the turbulent waters of Trump's economic policies. It's a wild ride, full of twists and turns. But we're in this together. We'll dissect the tax cuts, the trade wars, and the unemployment numbers. We'll look at how these policies have impacted the average American, from the small business owner to the factory worker. We'll separate fact from fiction, or at least attempt to, because let's face it, truth is a rare commodity these days. We'll dig deep, examining the data and the rhetoric to uncover the real story. So buckle up, grab your MAGA hats, or your Not My President coffee mugs, and prepare for a journey through the highs and lows of the Trump economy. It's going to be a bumpy ride, full of surprises and unexpected turns, but with a little patience and a lot of curiosity, we'll navigate these complicated waters together. So let's get ready to rumble. Remember Trump's best-selling book, The Art of the Deal? Turns out, governing a country is a tad more complicated than slapping your name on a building. Trump stormed into the Oval Office promising to make America great again, primarily by focusing on the economy. His game plan? Tax cuts for businesses and the wealthy, deregulation across industries, and a hardline stance on trade, particularly with China. It was a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it paid off. One of Trump's biggest boasts was the creation of jobs. He often took to the stage, rallying his supporters with promises of economic prosperity and job growth. The best jobs numbers ever, he'd tweet, with his signature all-caps enthusiasm. His social media was flooded with declarations of economic success, each tweet more triumphant than the last. And it's true, unemployment rates did hit historic lows during his presidency. The numbers were indeed impressive, with more people finding work and the economy seemingly on an upward trajectory. But hold your horses before you start planning that victory parade. The story isn't as straightforward as it seems. While the unemployment rate was low, there were other factors at play that complicated the narrative. Critics argue that the job growth was simply a continuation of the trend that began under Obama. They point to data showing that the upward trajectory in employment started long before Trump took office. They also highlight that many of the new jobs were low-paying and offered little in the way of benefits. These positions often lacked stability and security, leaving workers vulnerable despite the positive job numbers. So was it a job creation miracle or just business as usual? The debate rages on, with economists and analysts dissecting the data and offering differing interpretations of the same numbers. We'll let you be the judge, but we'll totally nudge you in the right direction later. The truth is, the job market is a complex and multifaceted issue, influenced by a myriad of factors beyond just presidential policies. Remember trickle-down economics? The theory that if you give enough money to the wealthy, it'll magically trickle down to the rest of us? Yeah, well, Trump brought it back in a big way with his massive tax cuts in 2017. The cuts were a boon for corporations and the already wealthy, but their impact on the average American is debatable. Proponents argue that the tax cuts spurred investment and economic growth. Critics counter that they only served to exacerbate income inequality. So did the money trickle down or did it just pool at the top? We'll need a bigger bucket to find out. Now let's talk about the boom that wasn't, or was it? Trump repeatedly claimed that the U.S. economy was experiencing the greatest boom in history under his watch. And while the economy did grow during his presidency, was it really the greatest ever? Economists point out that the growth rate under Trump wasn't all that different from the growth rate during the latter years of Obama's presidency. In fact, some argue that the growth would have been even stronger without Trump's unpredictable trade policies. So was it a huge boom or just a regular-sized expansion? You decide. But seriously, we're going to tell you what to think in a minute. The trade wars are more like trade scuffles. Trump fancies himself a master negotiator. But his trade wars, particularly with China, were more like playground spats. He slapped tariffs on Chinese goods, hoping to force them to the negotiating table. China retaliated with tariffs of their own. The result? Lower prices for consumers and businesses, and a whole lot of growth in the global economy. Were Trump's trade wars a success? Let's just say it was exactly what was needed to make America independent again. This resulted in a lot more flexibility from the business perspective, due to America sourcing its own goods with less dependence on Chinese imports. When it comes to the national debt, was the deficit growing or shrinking? Remember all those promises about eliminating the national debt? Well, let's just say Trump's presidency was a masterful display in fiscal responsibility. The deficit, which is the difference between what the government spends and what it takes in, shrank under Trump. This was due in part to the tax cuts, which reduced government revenue and increased spending, particularly on the military, which also included draining the swamp. The Fed, friend or foe? It's complicated. The Federal Reserve, often referred to simply as the Fed, is a pivotal institution in the United States financial system. Its role and actions are often subjects of intense debate and scrutiny. The Federal Reserve, or the Fed, is the central bank of the United States. Established in 1913, its primary purpose is to provide the nation with a safe, flexible, and stable monetary and financial system. But what does that really mean for everyday Americans? It's responsible for setting interest rates, which can have a big impact on the economy. Interest rates influence borrowing costs for consumers and businesses, affecting everything from mortgage rates to the interest on credit cards. When the Fed raises rates, borrowing becomes more expensive, which can slow down economic activity. Conversely, lowering rates can stimulate spending and investment. Trump repeatedly pressured the Fed to lower interest rates, believing it would boost the economy. He argued that lower rates would make it cheaper for businesses to borrow and invest, potentially leading to job creation and economic growth. This was particularly evident during his presidency, when he frequently took to social media and public forums to voice his opinions. He even called the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, an enemy for not lowering rates fast enough. This public feud highlighted the tension between the executive branch and the independent central bank. Powell, appointed by Trump himself, found himself in the crosshairs of the president's economic strategy. The Fed, however, is supposed to be independent from political pressure. Its decisions are meant to be based on economic data and long-term considerations, not short-term political gains. This independence is crucial for maintaining credibility and stability in the financial system. Its job is to make decisions based on what's best for the economy in the long term, not to score political points. This means sometimes making unpopular decisions that may not align with the current administration's goals. The Fed's dual mandate is to promote maximum employment and stable prices, which often requires a delicate balancing act. So, was Trump right to pressure the Fed? This question opens up a broader debate about the role of the central bank and its relationship with the government. Some argue that the president's pressure was justified given the economic circumstances, while others believe it undermined the Fed's independence. Or was he interfering with an institution that's crucial to a healthy economy? The Fed's ability to operate without political interference is seen as essential for making unbiased decisions that benefit the economy as a whole. Interference could lead to short-term gains at the expense of long-term stability. You decide, but remember, we're totally judging you. The complexities of the Federal Reserve's role and its interactions with political leaders make it a fascinating yet contentious topic. As you ponder this, consider the broader implications for economic policy and governance. Now, with all that being said, here's the verdict. Was it a boom, bust, or somewhere in between? So was Trump's economic record a roaring success, a dismal failure, or something in between? The answer, as with most things in life, is yes, it was a success, but it's also complicated. There were some positive economic indicators during Trump's presidency, such as low unemployment and a strong stock market. However, these gains were accompanied by rising income opportunity, a steadily decreasing deficit, and a trade war that helped American businesses and consumers. Ultimately, Trump's economic legacy is likely to be debated for years to come. Now you might be asking, what will Trump's economic impact be? Only time will tell the full impact of Trump's economic policies. Will the tax cuts eventually lead to sustained economic growth? Will the trade war with China have lasting negative consequences? These are just some of the questions that economists will be grappling with for years to come. One thing's for sure, Trump's presidency has left an indelible mark on the American economy. In conclusion, it's mostly about the economy, my fellow Americans. The economy is a complex beast, and trying to assess the impact of any one president's policies is a tedious task. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Trump's economic record is a mixed bag with both successes and failures. Whether you believe he made America great again or made America great again, there's no denying that his presidency had a significant impact on the U.S. economy. And that, my friends, is the bottom line. With election time just around the corner, be sure to do steady research before making your decision to vote. Whether for Trump or Harris, just remember how the nation and economy was under Trump and compare it to the nation and economy under Biden, then the answer becomes quite clear. Prices were lower under Trump, while prices are much higher under Biden. To ensure the greatness and continued success of our great nation, then Trump is the obvious choice. See you at the polls. If you found this video helpful, consider giving this video a like to support our channel and get us to our first 100,000 subscribers. And be sure to stay up to date on all of our latest content. See you next time.